This is the story of an Israeli spy so daring that he infiltrates the highest levels of the Syrian military. He memorizes the locations of secret Syrian gun emplacements on the Golan Heights, overlooking Israel. He boldly transmits his vital information to Israel from this apartment in Damascus, across the street from Syrian military headquarters. June 5th, 1967, the Six-Day War erupts. Israel launches a preemptive strike and silences the guns of the Golan, pinpointed by the Israeli spy. The spy, Eli Cohen, undercover in Damascus. The Golan Heights, a mighty fortress created by the hand of nature. Since biblical times, a barrier between Arab and Jew. Strategically vital to whoever controls its rugged hills, young Israeli tourists now visit this beautiful, brooding, and somber place that once posed a deadly threat to the people of Israel.
Today we can see how important it is up here. And we can see these observation posts and realize that they could see everything. That is why the Golan is so important for Israel and the settlements.
From the Golan Heights, the guns of Syria fired on Israeli settlers who worked in the valley below. For nearly 20 years, from the late 1940s, the farmers of the Israeli kibbutzim had to scratch a living from the soil while facing the threat of the Syrian guns. Families often spent days and nights in bomb shelters. For this brief moment in history, after a millennium of conflict, the Golan is in Israeli hands. The threat has been removed, for now. Security comes through the barrel of a gun and the cunning of Israeli intelligence.
The struggle for the Golan Heights went swiftly and well and smoothly, thanks to a man by the name of Eli Cohen, who had been planted in Syria a long time before and who acted as an Israeli spy.
Eli Cohen's parents were Syrian Jews who moved to Alexandria, Egypt. He was a loner, devout, studious, with a phenomenal memory, an ear for languages, and an interest in everything from science and weapons to photography. Eli Cohen had all the makings of an ideal spy. As a student, Cohen becomes involved with the underground smuggling of Jews from Egypt to Israel, including his own family. He attends university in Cairo, but increasing anti-Jewish fervor forces him out of school and finally out of Egypt. He joins his relatives in Israel. Cohen quits a dull desk job translating Arabic newspapers and magazines for the Ministry of Defense. He requests a more challenging assignment with Israeli intelligence. His psychological profile, prepared here at Israeli intelligence headquarters, warns of potential trouble signs. Despite his photographic memory and willingness to die for Israel, he is at conflict with himself, driven by a powerful sense of self-importance. He is impulsive, too eager to take risks. The request is denied. Disappointed, he goes back to school, becomes a successful businessman, and marries Nadia Maglet. They set up housekeeping in an apartment in Bat Yam, just outside Tel Aviv. It's life in a suburban housing development. Standard, conventional, even a little boring. But Amman, Israeli military intelligence, has always kept an eye on Cohen. His innate talent is too good to pass up. In 1960, Eli Cohen is offered a dangerous assignment. Military intelligence is looking for spies who can go undercover, spies who can pass as Arabs. Israel is a small nation living in constant threat. Information is power. Cohen, with his Syrian parentage, his past life in Egypt, and his fluency in Arabic is made to order. He begins his intelligence training. In the streets of the cities, he learns how to shadow suspects and how to elude those who might be shadowing him. He is immersed in Arabic culture and the elaborate rituals of the Islamic religion. In this very mosque, he memorizes prayers and the passages from the Quran that all devout Muslims must know. He wanders the Arab bazaars that still exist in Israel, testing his new identity. His cover is to be that of a businessman, specializing in the export of brass and copper and selling furniture to buyers in Europe. He must know his products well. And he learns the trade craft of espionage. Here in Cohen's own hand are instructions he receives on how to develop microfilm. Cohen's superiors have determined that his assignment will be Syria. Syria has been a vocal enemy, and its bombardment of Israel from the Golan Heights has made life a torment for those who live in fatal range. Cohen learns everything he can about Syrian society and politics. He even learns to speak Arabic with a Syrian accent. And then he is told he must learn everything about a different place, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Why? It is part of his elaborate cover. Argentina has a large Syrian community. Cohen's career as a deep penetration agent will begin here. March 1st, 1961, alone and carrying a forged Argentinian passport, Eli Cohen arrives in Buenos Aires with a new identity. His name, Kamel Amin Sabeth. He takes an apartment on Tacuary Street and begins to frequent cafes where Syrians come together for coffee and backgammon. At places like the Café La Paz and La Casa Árabe, he curries the friendship of the most prominent Syrians, building the credible story that he is a Syrian importer-exporter whose business frequently takes him to Europe. One of those he meets is the Syrian embassy's military attaché, Amin El-Hafez, an up-and-coming leader of Syria's Ba'ath Party. When Cohen tells him that he will soon be moving to Damascus, El-Hafez eagerly gives the spy introductions to Syrian high society. Cohen's cover fools everyone. January 1962. Cohen arrives in Damascus and rents an apartment directly across the street from Syrian Army headquarters. He can keep an eye on the comings and goings of the military and report what he sees and hears back to Israel via radio. He reestablishes his lucrative import-export business. His money, lavish parties, and charm gain him easy access to Syria's elite. They do not suspect that hidden in his apartment are the tools that help make Eli Cohen, alias Kamel Sabeth, a master spy. Disguised in the bottom of an electric mixer is his secret radio, connecting him to Israeli intelligence. Its antenna is the cord of an electric shaver. Concealed in seemingly harmless bars of soap is plastic explosive. An innocent-looking aspirin are actually deadly poison, to kill himself if necessary. But the most important weapon in Eli Cohen's arsenal is his mind, his almost photographic memory, and his ability to grasp complicated ideas. Cohen carefully cultivates friends in the Syrian military. Trusting Syrian Air Force pilots take him up on joy rides in airplanes and gliders. Army officers invite him along on trips to the Golan Heights. There are no closed doors for Cohen. His friends proudly show off every hidden artillery emplacement, every camouflaged trench and bunker, the location of every tank and gun. Cohen doesn't need to take notes. His superb memory retains everything. At this now abandoned Syrian hotel in the Golan, Cohen partied with his officer friends and listened carefully as they carelessly revealed state secrets. Crumbling walls and rusting lawn chairs are all that remain now. But here, Eli Cohen listened as loose-lipped military men talked about the size and disposition of the Syrian armed forces. And he listened as they talked about the Syrian order of battle in the event of another war with Israel. March 1963. In the latest in a series of military coups, Cohen's old friend from Buenos Aires, General Amin el-Hafez, becomes the president of Syria. Israel now has a spy on the inside, privy to Syria's deepest secrets. The new president even considers making the Israeli spy the Syrian Minister of Defense. Cohen is trusted enough to be told of a Syrian plot to cripple Israel by cutting off its water supply. For Israel, a nation of deserts, water is more valuable than diamonds. It desperately needs water to survive. Water comes to Israel from the Sea of Galilee and the River Jordan. Their headwaters are deep within the Golan Heights. Syria had developed an ingenious system of pumps and dams designed to divert those waters, forcing the Israeli nation to die of thirst. Eli Cohen alerts Israeli intelligence to the Syrian plan. In November 1964, a series of Israeli bombing raids completely destroys the project. Syria abandons its scheme. At that same time, Cohen sneaks back into Israel to visit his family. A rare moment of happiness. It will be his last visit home. For a while, he can stop being a spy and be himself again. He has never told Nadia the true nature of his business, but she suspects.
On his last visit, he had changed. He was unusually tense. He was getting upset over many meaningless incidents. His eyes were red. He even shouted at his sister, saying, "Leave me alone. My hands are on fire."
Cohen is racked with stress and anxiety, but he insists on going back to Syria one more time.
I understood that I had no choice, but he promised me that it would end.
One more mission, Kamel Amin Sabeth would then vanish, and Eli Cohen would come in from the cold, but Nadia was afraid.
I felt it was the last time we would see each other, that it was our separation.
Cohen returns to Syria and becomes Kamel Sabeth again. He resumes his transmission of radio messages to Israel and smuggles out microfilm hidden in the furniture he exports to his customers in Europe. Everything has gone perfectly. But now things begin to go wrong. His secret transmissions are broadcast at exactly 0830 hours. Too predictable. He sends 31 radio messages that exceed 9 minutes within the span of 1 month. With the help of Soviet military advisors, radio detection vans prowl the streets of Damascus. January 1965. From his apartment, Eli Cohen sends a vital message to Israeli intelligence in Tel Aviv, revealing Syrian plans to help train and bankroll the PLO. He stays on the air for a full hour. Slowly, the detection vans zero in on him. As Cohen waits for a return signal from Israel, the front door crashes in. Colonel Ahmed Suadani, head of Syrian counterintelligence, places Cohen under arrest. Tel Aviv. A representative of Israeli intelligence arrives at the Cohen's apartment in Bat Yam.
I saw his face without a smile, and I became horrified. I got scared. He held me by the shoulders. Come, sit down, sit on the sofa. Eli has been captured. And I said, in Syria? And he answered, yes.
In the weeks following Cohen's arrest, the Syrian government searches for more spies and accomplices. 500 citizens vanish from the streets of Damascus, many never to be seen again. The Syrians force Cohen to transmit false information, but he alerts Israeli intelligence to the truth by a subtle change in the way he presses his Morse code key. Cohen is beaten and tortured, but he never breaks. A vengeful Amin el-Hafez, betrayed and fearful for the future of his regime, orders a military show trial. Cohen is denied counsel and found guilty of treason. Despite the protests of world leaders, he is sentenced to death. May 18th, 1965. Cohen is allowed to write one last letter to his family. He writes it in French, not wanting his last words to Nadia to be in the language of his executioners. My beloved Nadia, my beloved family, I am writing these last words in the hope that you will always stay together. I ask you not to mourn what happened, but to look to the future. I am sending you last kisses. Pray for my soul. Eli. In the middle of the night, Cohen is taken to El Marga Square in Damascus, the square of the martyrs. The rabbi of Damascus recites the prayer, Shema Yisrael. The executioner places a noose around Cohen's neck. He refuses a mask. His body dangles in the square into the early morning light. Paper is wrapped around his corpse, Arabic detailing his crimes against Syria. Two years later, June 5th, 1967. After months of increasing tension and an Arab blockade of the Gulf of Aqaba, Israel launches lightning preemptive attacks on Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. It is known as the Six-Day War. Israeli jets attack Syria's hidden gun emplacements in the Golan. Troops and tanks storm the heights. They knock out all the artillery Syria thought was so cleverly concealed. All because of the pinpoint, detailed secret information smuggled out at the risk of death by Eli Cohen. The Golan Heights, the ruined bunkers, the wrecked remains of the Syrian military machine that once shelled Israeli settlers down below. For this moment in history remains in the hands of Israel. The former source of death and destruction is now a site for picnickers and tour groups, a living monument to the work of Eli Cohen. Not far from Tel Aviv is another more formal monument, a monument to spies. Appropriately, it is shaped like a maze. On its smooth stone walls are the Hebrew names and dates of death of the more than 400 men and women who have given their lives in the service of Israeli intelligence. Eli Cohen. Date of death, May 18, 1965. He was 40 years old.